Hey, this is Mike Thompson and Ryan Mapes. Welcome to Strictly Business, a show on RGCA TV 17 where we talk about business and the different ways that you can help your business to be successful.
Thanks, Mike. It's good to be back.
So, what's your title?
I'm the manager of the Endeavor Center, the OSU Endeavor Center in Piketon. It's a business incubator where we house some business startups, and then the goal is they're there with us for a while, and then they can proceed to start their own business or move out of the, build their own
Out of your facility
location, out of our
get their own.
location, and find their own location outside of the facility to grow.
So I'm sure you've seen a lot of different businesses start up and hopefully mostly move on and thrive.
Yes, yes.
And you've had to help them find markets and places to sell things. And is Southern Ohio a good market for businesses?
So, yeah, actually it is.
Or it probably depends on the business.
Depends on the business a lot. And previous to that, to my stint as the Endeavor Center manager, I spent close to 7 years as the Small Business Development Center director.
Okay.
So do have a lot of experience with businesses starting up and trying to grow in this market.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you had a business and you kind of tapped out this area, the next thing you might have to do is find a different area to sell in.
Well, you're
which could be
exactly right.
Another state, maybe across the country, and maybe across the world.
Could be.
So today's guest is one that might help us do that. We have Melissa Carter, and she's the director of the International Trade Assistance Center at the OSU South Centers. Yeah, I was waiting for that 3-shot. Yeah, the mysterious person off camera.
Welcome, Melissa.
Hi, how are you guys today?
Very good. Trying to stay warm and waiting for spring.
Yes.
Hey, at least the snow's melting today.
That's true. It is warmer.
Very nice. Almost shorts weather.
Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, where you come from, and
Well, my background,
how you got where you're at now.
I have been, I've worked at the Ohio State South Centers for the past 8 years. I have been in various roles throughout the South Centers, working from being a program intern through program assistant coordinator for our business development network, and now the director of our International Trade Assistance Center for the past year. My background, I am from an agricultural background. My family farms a grain and cattle operation, and I have 2 degrees from Ohio State, a bachelor's with agribusiness and applied economics, and a MBA through the Fisher College of Business.
Which is not easy, I might add.
No, it was not easy.
Especially when you're working, trying to go back and obtain that degree. And they have a special program for that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is the MBA program for working professionals, and it's a 2.5, 3-year night program that I successfully made it through.
Great. So, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
And then you told me also you have a little one?
Yes.
Okay.
Gracie is almost 8 months on
Meter.
Sunday, and she's pretty awesome.
Good. Going through some teething.
Going through some teething, having a little bit of fun with that.
Okay, good. Well, welcome back, Mike.
The trouble with trying to host and knowing the most about what goes on behind the scenes, sometimes I get called away.
Okay. So Melissa was just giving us a little personal background and how she got her various positions through the university, and then how it led to being the International Trade Assistance Center director.
Okay. So if I have, since international trade, is this something where if I make a certain product, maybe a plastic, or I need some machining done, can I contact you to have maybe another company overseas make that for me at maybe a lower cost?
What we normally do is help businesses that want to export their products overseas, not so much on the trying to find them, a different manufacturer overseas, because the goal of our program is to keep that export dollars here locally and keep those jobs here in the region.
Okay, so you're dealing with sales and not the production.
Right.
And we're wanting to keep the production jobs here.
Yes.
Good idea.
Yes.
All right, so when a person comes to you, do they just have a vague interest of what they want to do? Or like, I wonder if that would work to sell my stuff overseas?
We get 3 different kinds of businesses that come to us. We have businesses that are looking to expand their product, exporting. Maybe it's just a new idea and they've think, maybe I could sell it to Canada or overseas. Or we have businesses that are long been established and are maybe already exporting and just want to tap into a different market, different country. And then we have this third set that they probably haven't ever thought of exporting, but their product has reached the end of its life cycle here in the United States. So an example of that would be we have a company that has been selling digital thermometers for a long time, or analog thermometers, I'm sorry.
Like the outside type, right? Or is this the health type of?
The outside type.
Okay.
So what these analog thermometers, they're not really reaching their full potential here in the United States because everything's digital. But in emerging countries, those thermometers are still, becoming very useful. So there's 3 types of markets that we really work with, 3 types of businesses that we really work with for this program.
Along those lines, I know as a small business development center, we work with all kinds of businesses, from manufacturing to all kinds of service businesses. With the exporting and the International Trade Assistance Center, what types of businesses can you work with?
We can work with any type of businesses. We have businesses that are in the wood industry. That's a very popular industry here in the region. To food manufacturers, to salsa is popular in different countries, as is barbecue sauce. The European countries really like hot barbecue sauce, so that's a different market. To even service providers that provide a service, we can work with them as well. So it's a wide variety of industries that can benefit from exporting their goods and services.
Good. So what kind of service provider would you have? Would that be like call center type of thing, or what would that be?
Well, it would be more of a knowledge-based service where they're exporting their ideas type of thing, not just a call center type business.
Yeah. I would imagine that there's lots of different laws about exporting things. Wood is a live thing. Salsa is
Well, even
produce.
wood, there's regulations about transporting certain types of wood over state lines. So let alone over international lines.
And what we can do is we can help businesses guide through those regulations to understand what is needed for their product to be able to ship to specific countries, because even the regulations in individual countries are different than just selling to a different state here.
Okay. Now okay, that would be laws about maybe live goods. Is there anything about the business side of it that you have to look out for, tariffs, taxes, and all that kind of stuff?
There's lots of tariffs. We really do market research a lot of times on the political and economic risks for these different countries that they would enter, because some businesses, they have a different way of getting goods and services into the country. So it's good to understand a little bit of background for those countries before we go down that road of trying to get their product into a new country.
How about cultural things?
Yes, cultural is a different barrier as well. Language obviously is the biggest cultural difference, but there are also many different cultural ways that could be a barrier for companies. fortunately, Ohio has 7 different in-market reps, which are we have representatives that, work from the state of Ohio in these different countries, and they kind of help us with those cultural barriers, along with multiple other things.
What kind of cultural barrier would there be?
So if there's a barrier in, understanding the way you do business with someone, different countries won't, you need to do things in a certain way, in a certain mannerism, so that the country will accept you.
I know we used to have here at Grande a campus in Japan, and that was probably one of the biggest hurdles we had to overcome is, and I don't know if that we did actually because we don't have it anymore, but just the way that the Japanese do business and the way that they view education and the way that they approach things is a lot different than the way we did it. And getting those two groups to meet and actually agree was probably the hardest things. Yeah. And I used to also handle it's just the details a lot of times that will kill you. I used to deal with a consortium of schools with a television system where one school could teach another couple schools like science or something if they didn't have that teacher. And I was in charge of the technology. Technology always worked, and the people were there. But the worst thing about it was the bell schedule. Over whether the classes actually overlapped. That I think is what mostly killed that thing.
Yeah.
Just silly little things like that. And if you can smooth over those type of things.
Well, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you work closely with the office in Columbus, who has offices all around the world that can maybe, those people are housed in the different countries. They can understand the culture and those small things that could be a hindrance to doing business with the companies in that country.
Yeah, like they might have to change packaging.
Sure.
Right, and those in-market reps that we have in the different countries, when we meet with a business, and they want to meet with someone in another country, we meet with do a conference call with our in-market rep, and they're the ones that can help us with those cultural barriers, language barriers, and just, little things that, we might take for granted that we're completely missing, where another country takes that very seriously.
Little things like taking your shoes off.
All right.
When you enter a business, or
mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't think about it here, but overseas that could be a deal killer.
Or even just the way you say hi.
Hi, handshakes.
Right.
Small things like that.
And a lot of times we'll advise a business when they get farther down the road of wanting to export is to hire their own translator to be on our end, because that business might be able to speak English. However, it's better to have your own translation and be able to speak in their native language as another cultural acceptance of, we want to do business in your country, so we will try to use your language as best we can.
Have you been? I'm not sure if you could answer this question. If you've been in the field long enough to see any trends, are there any markets that are kind of ripe around the world? In Asia or Europe or Africa or whatever? Is there a particular area that people seem to go towards?
It all depends on the industry. Different businesses, different products have different markets in different countries. I have worked with a couple businesses. They're in like the drilling industry, and they look more towards South America, whereas
okay.
a lot of the wood products go to Europe. So it all depends on what market you're in, of where the best location for you to find your next country.
Okay.
And there are folks statewide and nationwide doing research on those exact things.
Yes, and we have access to try to help you determine where you should find your next country to market in. But to have companies do their own market research, because I have a company that they came to me and they said, we want to expand our exporting, and we've seen from our website hits these 3 countries. So then I started doing research on those 3 countries to find out, where would they first, let's, prioritize those 3 countries to get them in.
So you kind of do a little market research that way.
Yes, we do a lot of market research. We have access to multiple databases that can help businesses. Businesses don't want to pay $1,000 or $2,000 for a market research database. However, we have that access, and we can pull reports to help them kind of decide maybe what country they want to export in, or some other market research, finding different product lines that way.
So who can get your services? Is it any business, or does it have to be below a certain level? Or
the Small Business Administration considers small businesses under 500 employees. So really any business, for the majority in Southern Ohio, we can work with that want to export or are already exporting and want to look into a new country, new area. And what we can do is we can meet with them one-on-one, and free of charge. Our services, all of the small business services that we have, are free of charge. And we also do some training events to try to attract businesses that way, and partner with other organizations to do some workshops that might benefit them in the long run.
Well, I know recently, or not so recently, in the last 6 months, we've had a wood exporting workshop. Can you talk just a little?
The last 2 years,
that?
we've had a forest and wood products exporting event held at the South Centers in Piketon. And what we've done is we've brought in industry leaders from the state and national programs, and they've talked to local businesses that are those wood industry companies, and try to get them to understand the trends. And for that specific industry, we can find out what countries are best suited for their specific product, whether it's hardwood, if it's going through the whole process, anything like that. And that workshop has been the last 2 years, and it's been very well attended, and it's a growing industry in Southern Ohio.
Yeah, we've had over 50 attendees, I believe, for each workshop.
Yes.
wow. What are they looking for, and what do they use it for? Are they looking for oak or walnut, or is it furniture things that they're building, or houses with pine, or
A lot of times it's buildings, but it's also furniture. Again, the different countries want different specifications on their products and how it's going to be most useful, and then how the companies here can best suit that need.
I think white oak, or white or red oak, one of the two, is very popular in China for furniture building. I remember that from the
Yes.
export workshop.
I thought maybe he was going to say IKEA or something.
Could be. So, Melissa, if I know we work with lots of businesses, and with the Small Business Development Center and the manufacturing SBDC. How do you reach businesses, or how do you get the word out? And you might talk a little bit about your coverage area and how that works around the state.
I cover 10 counties in Southern Ohio, and then another 11, 12 counties up in the southeastern Ohio region. So I have a 22 county coverage area. And businesses can find us by either going through their SBDC, maybe they're already working with a Small Business Development Center or a Manufacturing and Technology Small Business Development Center, or finding us through the state. Sometimes people will get on the state Ohio Department of Ohio Development Services Agency's website to find out global resources. Word of mouth is our biggest way to attract businesses. They've talked to their neighbor that has exported something and utilized us, and we've gotten a call that way.
So you could go, I guess, right to the OSU South Centers. Just Google that and you find that, and you're probably in the list of services somewhere.
Yes, we've got a page on the website about international trade and how we can help businesses, and then even that list is pretty generic of all the services that we really could provide a business.
Now, you said you handle these, 20-some counties here. Do we have in Ohio other centers like the South Center on, the northeast or the northwest?
Yes, there are 7 ITACs throughout the state. We are all funded through the Ohio Development Services Agency, and all the other ITACs or International Trade Assistance Centers are all in big cities. We're kind of a unique form in Southern Ohio, but all the rest of them are in Cleveland, Columbus, Dayton, Youngstown, Toledo.
Okay, and so you wrote something about grants. What kind of grants are we talking about?
Well,
What do
typically,
the grants do?
grants are very rare with small businesses, and usually that's kind of a bad word around us a lot of times of, everybody wants a grant to start their business. However, for the International Trade Program, we do have grants available. So what they can do, businesses that want to maybe go to a trade mission overseas or do an international trade show, or even, translate their website. Something as simple as translating their website into another language, whatever language they need it translated into.
You just can't put it into Google Translate.
Right.
It doesn't come out
It doesn't work that way.
as nice as it should.
Right, but businesses can apply, do a project up to $20,000, and they get a 50% reimbursement. So they would get $10,000 back, which
But
is
you got to have the 20 to put down first?
Yes.
Okay.
And all the whole project has to be expended before they reimburse you.
It's got to be a completed project.
Yes.
Does it have to be a successful project, or?
Has to be a completed
It has to be a completed project. But there are numerous ways that businesses can benefit from that image grant, and it's a way for the state to try to help boost the export sales, which last year Ohio had $52 billion in export sales.
How's that stack up to other states?
We are in the top 10 of export sales in the country.
And do you know what that consists of? What kind of things?
It's really, any type of industry. A lot of it's agriculture.
Yeah, okay. Wasn't sure. And agriculture being food type stuff or things like trees?
Well, food,
Or
wood,
livestock.
grain, livestock. Grain and livestock are pretty high in exports.
Now, have you had anything to do with, I hear we're supposed to have a meat processing plant in Gallia County, and I think that is supposed to export to Korea or China or something?
I haven't
You
had
haven't
any,
had no hand in that?
not yet,
Okay.
but I'm sure once they get up and running, we can meet with them and,
Right, they haven't broke ground yet, but
right.
And I hear that'll be an expansion of existing
It's a current.
operations. So yeah, we definitely.
and that may be, I guess that one location here would be considered small business, but if you considered the whole thing, it wouldn't be.
Yeah, it's a fairly large corporation, I believe.
Right.
From what I've heard.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know too much about it. It's not a real business I'd like to be in personally, but it's one of those things that, makes the world go around.
Now that could be a source of importing,
Mm-hmm.
a potential source of importing cattle to get the numbers.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Across different states.
Do you work with do you help any businesses try to import products?
We have not, but we can help them, get their specific pieces.
Like
and
find resources?
find resources to get their specific pieces for them to assemble what they need to and then export it back to other countries once it's a final product.
Okay, good.
Another question you had on here, what advice would you give a business that is looking to export?
For any business that I talk to, the biggest thing is for them to have patience, because understanding all the different opportunities and resources, it's hard to navigate a lot of the paperwork and requirements, but to have patience and be positive about the potential that they could have of exporting overseas, or just as simple to go to Canada or Mexico. There's plenty of opportunities available, but it's not something where they sell something tomorrow, they're going to get paid, tomorrow afternoon. It's a little bit harder process than that, but to not get discouraged and utilize the resources available to them to try to become successful.
What do you think the timeline would be? And it may depend on the business, what's the timeline of me as a business person coming in and saying, hey, I want to export, till I'm actually shipping, do you think?
It varies, a couple weeks to 2 to 3 months, really,
Okay.
of shipping something overseas, of getting the right necessary paperwork, and if they have a distributor to sell it on the other side, or whether they're just shipping it directly to the customer.
Okay, that's a little quicker than what I thought. I figured it'd be 6 months to a year down the road before you
Well,
navigate
I think
all
some
that.
things could be.
Yeah, 2 weeks it would be very, if you're getting ready to ship something, that could be quick, but it could take a good bit of time as well.
Now, how would I get paid as the business person? I guess that would depend on, again, what I'm selling and how I sell it and distribute it.
That will all depend on what agreement you've made with your end consumer. Whether you have paid up front, your consumer is going to pay when it gets off the ship, or whether it's paid as soon as they make the product in America, or when it gets to the customer's front door. That is your contract that you've set up with that customer of who's going to pay throughout the process.
So if I'm a small business wanting to export, how I don't have to know all of that initially.
Right.
How does that process work?
What you do is we can work with our end market reps to understand what would be the best way to set up a contract, because again, the cultural barriers of contracts in different countries, but to just understand that customer base and how they want to work.
Yeah, it's hard enough to understand a contract written in English.
Sometimes. If you get the right attorneys involved. It can be.
Right.
So we'll talk a little bit about the fun part of your job. As the International Trade Assistance Center Director, you do, I believe, get to go on trade missions?
Yes, we do. We can go on trade missions. There's multiple trade missions throughout each year, different industries, different opportunities. There's one going to Romania here in a month or two, and that one's based on cybersecurity businesses. So there's various, whenever we can get a company that is willing to do a trade mission for that industry, then maybe I can
Get a tag
do
along.
So is that kind
tag
of like
along.
a job fair for that industry or something?
It is a way for businesses to sit down and actually meet with potential customers, potential distributors, and just understand the culture and ways of doing business in that country.
Now, do you see more raw goods, or do you see things that would go to department stores?
We see a lot of finished goods,
Yeah.
software programs, drilling rigs, any type of industry.
Okay. So now if we hit on it, how do people get a hold of you?
They can get on our Ohio State South Center's website, which is southcenters.osu.edu, and find us that way. I'm on there, or my phone number and email address can be found there as well.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Melissa, for coming to the show. Some upcoming shows, like next week on Business Talk, we have Kelly Gifford coming in talking about a rehab program. And next week at this time at 2 o'clock, I will be talking with Marlene Childers about vaccinations, which has been a hot topic in the news lately. Then after that, exposition is March 11th, and we have another business talk on March 11th at 1 o'clock. All right, so
Well, thanks Melissa.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. And if anyone would have questions or need information about exporting, please feel free to contact Melissa.
Yes,
yeah,
thank you.
utilize the South Centers. They're here to help you and your business and make your business successful. That's your mission, keeping jobs in Ohio and making money.
Our mission statement is your success is our business.
Sounds good. Okay, I'm Mike Thompson.
I'm Ryan Mapes.
And I'm Melissa Carter.
Have a nice afternoon, and thanks for watching.